It's Wednesday, March 8th. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. And yesterday we had another tragic mid-air collision while two aircraft were conducting training in the pattern in Winter Haven, Florida. Let's check it out. From the Aviation Safety Network, a Piper J3C 65 horse Cub from Jack Brown Seaplane Base. Jack Brown Seaplane Base is the most famous, popular place to get a seaplane rating in the United States. Thousands of pilots have gotten their seaplane rating here at Jack Brown's. He has a fleet of float planes to get the rating in, including 3 of these non-electric J3 Cubs. I mean non-electric, no electrical system. November 10510, 2 fatalities on board, 2 occupants, 2 other fatalities in the other aircraft while training en route. A float-equipped Piper J3C65 Cub, November 10510, and a Piper PA-28-161 Cherokee, November 9221 Delta, crashed following a mid-air collision over Lake Hartridge near Winter Haven, Gilbert Airport, Florida. Both aircraft crashed into the lake. No survivors. Here's the Jack Brown website, established since 1963. With this seaplane training, loads of videos out there on YouTube. Just a great place to get a float plane rating. There's Jack. He was not involved in this accident. The fleet of aircraft include 3 of these Piper J3 Cubs. Oh, they've upgraded to 100 horse. They're 100 horse J3s. But they are basically well, I don't know. You guys that have been flying out here lately, can you tell me, are these still non-electric J3s? Do you still got to hand prop them? The question I have is, do they even bother with radios in these aircraft? Typically, they don't, because they don't have an electrical system, and they're not required to either. The other aircraft is a 1988 Piper PA-28 Cherokee, 180 horsepower Cherokee, operated by Sunrise Aviation out of Polk State College, which operates out of Lakeland Airport nearby. The Piper Cherokee, flown by a young flight instructor and her even younger student pilot, came out of Lakeland and was apparently doing pattern work over here at the Winter Haven Airport, runway 23. And it looks like after multiple patterns, the collision occurred while on left base entry to runway 23 at the Winter Haven Airport. This is fairly congested training airspace, especially this time of year in Florida, and with the ongoing pilot shortage, the number of pilots that are learning to fly right now. Jack Brown Seaplane Base is located right here off of the side of runway 11 here at Winter Haven's Airport. They operate off of Lake Jessie, and they practice off of Lake Hartridge, located right here. The Cherokee's doing a left-hand pattern on runway 29, and apparently the Cub was doing some training. There was an instructor pilot and a older, well, not student pilot, but a pilot getting recurrent float plane training in the J3 Cub at the time of the accident. So both aircraft were conducting training at the time of the accident, which is something investigators will be looking at, because how busy your cockpit is while you are instructing with a student, plus the limitations of see and avoid for collision avoidance in a busy pattern like this. The question I have for you guys that have been flying out of Jack Brown's for years is, what's the standard pattern here operating off of Lake Hartridge? Winter Haven Airport is a uncontrolled airport, or non-tower airport, just using a common Unicom frequency. Do the Jack Brown seaplanes, do the Cubs have a radio, and are they on the Unicom frequency? And what's their standard pattern when operating off of these lakes here? It looks to me like the Cherokee was flying a very standard traffic pattern here for runway 23, or correction, 29. And because the Cub is a non-electric aircraft, it's not going to have ADS-B data or ADS-B out to help you with your see and avoid, to back up your see and avoid procedures with the help of ForeFlight. But that tighten the pattern on base leg, you need to be looking outside. And one of the other major limitations, the classic limitations that investigators will be looking at for visibility in this sort of a situation, is a low wing aircraft like the Piper Cherokee versus a high wing aircraft like the Piper Cub. The Piper Cub, especially the student is in the front seat of the Piper Cub and the instructor is in the back seat of the Piper Cub. Very limited visibility out of the Cub. They're usually flying lower and slower than everybody else, so they cannot see up above through the wing. And the low wing aircraft, usually flying a little bit higher, does not have good visibility through the low wing. So it's very easy for a low wing aircraft to descend down upon a high wing aircraft. We have no idea what the angle was of this collision, but this is one of the common limitations of see and avoid of a high wing aircraft versus a low wing aircraft. So once again, another tragic mid-air collision pointing out the limitations of see and avoid in VFR clear day operations and the limitations of see and avoid of a high wing aircraft versus a low wing aircraft, and the high amount of training that's going on around the country today. Thanks so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.